Hi, I'm Suzi Lula, and I was inspired to share with you all a little bit about self-care, especially for mothers with children under the ages of 6 or 8. You know, in working with clients and especially new mothers over the years, I've come to know that self-care is one of the most misunderstood concepts and therefore one of the most undervalued transformational tools that we actually have. Whenever I ask anyone really, but especially a new mom, to fill in the sentence, taking care of myself is, almost always I hear the answer selfish. And I believe that's because we don't really understand what self-care really actually is. When I use the term, I'm not talking about, margarita or a massage, although that can be part of it and can actually lead us to the deeper meaning that I'm speaking of. When I speak of self-care, I'm speaking of a deeper need that all of us have to nourish our spirit, to nourish our essential self, our authentic self. You know, we hear so much today about living from our essence. And what I'm speaking of is learning to nurture and nourish our essence, our essential self. It's such an irony to me, really, because as mothers, we actually experience the deepest connection possible when we simply look at our newborn, for instance, or an infant. When we gaze at a newborn, we're actually gazing at their essential self, their unmasked, transcendent self, transparent self, connected self, authentic self. And as we gaze at their essential self, we can feel so connected to something that's greater than our everyday self. We are connected to our most powerful self when we gaze at an infant, because their essential nature is reflecting back to us our essential nature. But the irony to me is that mothers are privy and get to experience this self, this connection, and yet we lose that very power and that very connection when we get mired in the everyday doing tasks that do come with motherhood for sure. So it is the connection that I'm passionate about assisting mothers to nourish. That is self-care to me. And so I'd love to read you all from my upcoming book, a practice around bedtime that a client of mine created. Because we all know that bedtime can be such a time when mothers are depleted, and so it can ultimately challenge us. And one of my clients created a practice around this. So on a practical note, many mothers can find bedtime a challenging time in their relationship with their children. We're all exhausted with nothing left to give our child at the end of the day. Our tank is empty. And yet, at the very time when we are spent from our day, our children need connection the most. When I look deeper at this phenomenon with parents, I realize that it's the time parents need their own inner connection that me time provides. It's the parent who has become depleted and disconnected from ourselves. When parents choose to look at a photo of ourselves as a child or simply look into their child's eyes with the intention of connecting inwardly with themselves, they connect with their own preciousness as a child and simultaneously with the preciousness of their own child. So my client Yuki shared with me a bedtime routine that she created for herself and her son Hiroshi. She explained, "I used to dread bedtime. I was exhausted, and no matter what I did or said, or how long I laid with Hiroshi, he wanted more of me." Sound familiar? Almost every night ended in stress and tears. I knew something needed to change, so I made a self-care challenge for myself. I found a picture of Hiroshi sleeping, and I placed it in a beautiful frame next to his bed. That night, we each held the photo. I looked at the photo of my son sleeping so peacefully, and then I began speaking about myself. Yuki, I said, you have had a wonderful day. You experienced many things. You had special time with Hiroshi at the park. You cooked a beautiful dinner for your family. You are with your beautiful son right now. Yuki, you are ready for sleep after a long day. And then I turned to Hiroshi, and I began speaking to him. Hiroshi, you did many things as well today. I'm so grateful we got to spend special time at the park together. I'm so grateful I got to have dinner with you, and I'm so grateful I got to give you a bath. I'm so grateful I get to tuck you in. I'm especially grateful I get to be your mommy. I'm the luckiest mommy on earth. But because I had found a way to authentically put myself into the nighttime equation, this turned into such a rich and connected time for us. Simply acknowledging my own long day and sharing aloud with him that I'm tired and I'm ready for sleep soothed me. I accepted myself as tired, and it moved me into a spaciousness that I hadn't experienced at bedtime before. From this place, I was able to patiently and but sincerely become interested as Hiroshi talked about his day and what was important to him. When we connect with our own preciousness, it takes us out of the daily bedtime routine, the day-to-day doing, into a state of being that's larger than our everyday life. We can reconnect with what's truly important to us. We fill up our own tank first, and then our children feel our shift. Our very presence soothes them. So lastly, I would love to take you through a short guided meditation practice that you can do daily if it resonates with you, to learn to nourish your own spirit, your own essence as a way of life. So if it feels right for you, just gently close your eyes. And if you're able or choose, just gently place your hand on your heart. Just take a deep breath in and allow your mind to rest just for these next few moments. Perhaps you might want to imagine a moment of looking into your child's eyes, gazing at your child when they were a newborn, or take a moment where you perhaps watched them sleeping. Perhaps remember a moment that you were watching them sleep peacefully, a moment when you felt their innocence, most of all, a moment when you felt connected. And simply be present with this feeling of connection. And now become aware that this feeling of connection is actually alive within you right now. And just breathe into this feeling of connection and be grateful for this feeling. Be present in your heart and ask, what is my essence needing in order to feel nourished today? What is my spirit needing to feel nourished in this moment? And simply listen. Perhaps there's even a sadness in asking the question, because perhaps your spirit feels like it's dying on the vine. But what I know is underneath is that we're dying to live. We're all dying to truly live. So you might ask yourself, what is it that I need to truly be alive, awake, and aware today? And I guarantee you that when you do something as simple as ask yourself this sincere question, your essence will answer And the answer will usually surprise you. It will usually be something very simple, something very easy, something as natural to you as breathing. So I hope this assists you, not necessarily with a list of self-care activities, although I am actually very happy to do that as well. I hope this invites you to connect with your own highest self, your own essential self, and to ask that part of you what it needs to truly feel nourished, and then share it with all of us. I, for myself, would love to hear what you find to truly nourish your spirit. So take care, thanks, and use this often.